That's America I remember. You know, when Trump talked about making America great again, in my delusional mind, at least I thought that's what he was talking about. And then when he said he was ashamed of homelessness, I thought that meant he was really going to do something powerful to end it. That's why I like Trump and I voted for Trump. That's it. Other than that, I got nothing. The last two presidents I ended up liking, the last one was Jimmy Carter back in the 70s. As a teenager when I started driving, it was ingenious of him to go to gas rationing, to reduce the speed limit. Do you know how many lives that alone saved in America over the course of, it was a long time, it went into the 90s. We had a 55 mile an hour, I believe it was 55 into the 90s, nationwide speed limit. You know how many lives were saved during that period of time? Plenty, I can assure you. I don't know if the statistics are out there, but use your own imagination. And how about the gasoline that was saved? But that was because he was just calling the bluff of the oil company and said, we got an oil shortage, we got a gas, so we're going to raise prices. But he knew it was just a scam to manipulate markets. You know, bring in more money for their shareholders and their owners and investors and all this crap. You know, I mean, they wanted to raise the gas. It was about 29 cents a gallon in the mid 70s when I started driving. And, you know, they wanted to take it to like 34 cents a gallon. And Carter said, no, no, no. He understood economics. He understood that you got to protect the worth of the dollar. This was crucial to the welfare of the best interests of the American people at large, okay? Regular, everyday people. You need to protect the worth of your dollar. And when leaders don't do that, they're not doing a favor to the regular, everyday people, Americans at large. And it's not helping anybody else, anywhere else in the world. We're the most influential nation on earth, and that's the example we're setting. We're dropping the ball hard and heavy and saying, it's okay, go ahead, debase our money, we'll accept it, whatever. We understand now that, you know, they're selling less and less of this product. Well, they got to charge more and more because they got to compensate for lost profits when they used to do volume. You understand, this is a madness. That's in your face, anti-capitalistic. It's the opposite of supply and demand. The opposite. It's so maddening to me that knowing something about economics, I think, oh my God, what we've been accepting. Your money's supposed to go one direction, friends, if we're making gradual progress as a society. It's supposed to go up in worth. That's it, friends. That's how you share the wealth that's being created. All the technology, the industrial age, mechanization, automation, robotization, on and on and on. Now we can supply way more of almost everything we could ever want automatically, without even lifting a finger, without even making people work more, making them work less, just doing productive things, solving problems, and then saying, well, you got to do another job now because we don't need you working in, you know, the housing authority or the Section 8, right? This federal housing program, right? Because we've solved the problem. We don't have any more homeless people. We don't have any more people that can't afford their housing costs. And crime would dry up. What a bonus that would be, huh? Crime, the biggest driver of crime is financial desperation. Homicides, you name it. I mean, people killing their spouses. Oh my God, I mean, the stories you hear about for the insurance money, and oh my God, it boggles the mind for a few bucks. Oh my God, I mean, you know, we need people to have the fear of God in their soul and say, man, I'm going to answer for this, man. Yeah, I mean, you fear your reputation too, that's great, but you know what? Beyond that, man, it's crossing God. I mean, if we could just live by the golden rule, all the laws of man that make sense would fall into place, okay? But we can't even do that. That's a struggle for people. It's a struggle for me sometimes, just being honest. I mean, it's not easy to always be nice, but that's what we have to do. The idea is to love your enemy, to love those, because you don't know. They might turn from enemy, a weed growing in our midst, to a cultivar worthy to be saved. And said, wow, See, this is who God is really after. He talks about how he didn't come for the righteous, but he came for the sinners. He came for the stinkers, in other words. That all heaven rejoices more over one lost sinner that is found, like the story of the prodigal son. Read for yourself all this, but it's fascinating, and it goes against our human nature because we don't see it. We almost don't want to see it God's way because it puts a lot of pressure on us to constantly be better and better, evolve and grow, and be more and more like God, and embrace those same attributes, qualities, those characteristics. And honesty is at the top of the list. If we can just be honest, we don't have to be smart because a little child can understand the simple logic of what God expects from us. And if we taught people that, I tell you what, you'd see crime dry up. I mean, all this and just some fairness in our society, the financial, social, economic structure out there. You know, it's maddening to me. Where we don't have laws, where we should have laws, and if we just follow the one law with real teeth, the golden rule, treating others the way we want to be treated, we could live together in peace and harmony, safety, security, freedom, and prosperity for everybody. But the direction we're going, it's just brought the opposite, just grief and pain, division, animosity, sick, man, desperation, hopelessness, misery. That's what they brought to us. Difficulty, burden, the price, cost of everything going up? You know, you're running in the sand and they just keep dumping more on. That's by debasing your money, by raising your cost of living. You notice it's on critical things we can't get away from, like energy needs, food, housing, water, right? Those things. They got you by the throat there. So if you're in those industries and you don't have a conscience, I mean, you say, hey, you know, I gotta get mine, and if it means, you know, you lose, you understand how the secular world thinking, it kind of divorces itself, it separates itself from its conscience. As well, that's fanciful, but you know, I'm kind of a nuts and bolts guy, and I just need to earn my money, you know. So we all get it. God gets it. We're all money lovers, and we have to admit that. To some degree, we're culpable. I mean, if you don't admit something, you don't confess something, then it's unadmitted, it's unconfessed. You didn't do nothing wrong. You understand? That's the whole idea of confession, is to say, I acknowledge I did wrong. You know, and that's a good thing. That's a first step. That's what a drug addict does. That's a first step to getting it together, is admitting it, confessing it. Then we can face it head on and be honest. That's all. Well, friends, I'm about done here. You know, recently I was talking about my dad and what a character he was, but, you know, losing his mom at 8 years old, he lived in Massachusetts, had to deliver milk and newspapers in the snow all day to give to his mean stepmother to support the household. He never had enough to eat. He was living on Coca-Cola and hot dogs, and when he was 16, so he could get enough to eat. He joined the Merchant Marine. He took his brother's ID because he wasn't old enough. And from there, he went into the Marine Corps and became a bit of a badass. He became a boxer, so he didn't get pushed around. And one time, he had a drill sergeant that was just picking on him, and one time he just belted him. He wasn't afraid of getting in trouble or nothing. But you know, he strongly suspected. Later, I remember he relayed a story to me about levitating on the boat, and he was talking about these experiments that he heard where they were doing with LSD. Could you imagine being this tough young Marine, you know, and you get your morning coffee that's unknowingly laced with LSD? Could you imagine what that could do to your mind? You know, and then he became a lab rat, unbeknownst to him, for the rest of his life. You know, hey, I'm just saying, these are things that people say they happen. Rumor or not, I don't know. You know, but I mean, I've heard some pretty convincing stories that they've experimented like that. But you know, it's an interesting little factoid. That would alter your thinking. If you didn't know where it came from, you thought it was all just God inspired. You know, but all these chemicals were being released that are naturally in our body, endorphins and whatnot, and you didn't know what was going on. You thought it was all just you, and maybe God imbued you with some superhuman, unique power. And hey, you never know. You never know how it's going to affect a person. Maybe if their self-esteem is real low, it could have the opposite effect and just tear them down. I don't know. I don't know. I think there are constantly studies going on about this sort of thing. Friends, I got to leave it there. Listen, have a great day. Have a great eternity. Try to be nice to everybody. And remember, love your enemy because that's what we're told to do. And we got to please God. If we ever want to find true happiness, we got to please our owner, our divine